And welcome to Living in the 21st Century. Joining me today is Dr. Ricardo Bianca. He's from Boston Behavioral Medicine. As well, he's the director for the Socioeconomic Development Foundation of Boston. And also joining me is Nelly Naranduru from Kenya, Africa. And she is the co-founder of the Kimo Wellness Foundation. And we're going to be speaking today with Nelly and Dr. Bianca on what they are looking to do to make the Moringa community a better community for those who exist in Kenya. So my first question goes out to you, Nelly. Please tell us what you're doing. You are the co-founder of Kimo Wellness Foundation. Explain what it's all about.
Thank you. Good morning. And good evening to my fellow Kenyans. My name is Nere Dirango. I am one of the co-founders of Kimo Wellness Foundation. Kimo Wellness Foundation is a non-profit organization which is international, founded in Kenya, Murang'a County, Kadarasat County, by like-minded community members who are ready to relieve human suffering different ways. All the members are born in Kenya. They have grown up as ordinary children in the community. They have experienced and understood the community challenges related to the community, and that is why they would want to continue giving back to the community at their prime and aging stages. When I was growing up, I was brought up from a humble beginning. I went to Modelo Primary School. Then from there, I performed exceptionally well. I was able to join Karema Girls High School. Then later, I joined Getuge Girls High School. And later, I joined Bacham International University at Miami, where I did my degree in counseling psychology. Alongside those, I have done other courses, including IT work. I have done other courses that have support the community. I have worked for 15 and a half years for Telecom Kenya Limited, where I was able to support the community and especially the young people on behavior change communication. Today, as I sit here, being the founder or the CEO for Kimo Wellness Foundation, I will be presenting to you what Kimo does to the community and what other Kimo members do, what the community benefits from Kimo. As I have told you, Kimo Wellness Foundation is a legally registered non-profit organization by the Ministry of Devolution and Planning under the Non-Governmental Organization Board, which was registered in the year 2014, the date of 6th of November in Kenya. This was, as I have said, a brainchild of the community volunteers from different professions, with ranging background of counseling, psychologists, social workers, addiction practitioners, teachers, public health workers, and medics. Kimo partner with international and local-minded persons to relieve human suffering. We don't mind the ethnicity. We don't mind the color. We are not people of color. We are cross-cutting. So long as you have a passion for supporting the community, we work together with you. We are guided by the 24 internationally accepted character strengths through the fire survey. Our scope, as I have said, is international, and we are working with our motto towards relieving human suffering. What are the activities of Kimo? Kimo promotes access to health care services for the general community. How we do it? we have the experience of the challenges of where we grew up. We know health is a challenge in our community, and especially so, the community members who have to travel very far from their homes to seek like a minimum of 2 hours or 3 hours to seek medical services with the very bad terrain of Morana, the hilly areas. And until recently, when we did not have the all-weather roads, and parents had to carry their children on their backs. Others had to be ferried by the support of the community to reach to the nearest Muranga Hospital or Vika Level 5 Hospital. So with this, we realized that it was a challenge for the community and they needed the hospital to be near them. Then we also work with the community to help them access welfare services, and especially for persons with disability. Out there, if you have the wheelchairs, we have so many people in our Muranga County who need those wheelchairs, who need other support, that they can be able to reach to other areas, because vulnerability is a great deal. Again, we are coming from a rural community whereby getting resources is next to impossible. And especially for persons with a disability who are even marginalized and stigmatized in the community. Now, the other activity that Kimo has engaged with, it is prevention and mitigation of the impacts of drugs and alcohol among the youth. We are not talking of youth becoming the leaders of tomorrow. Our youths are the leaders of today. And we would want our youth to lead today, because this is the time we are living in the 21st century when we have got to promote the youths. Therefore, Kimo has engaged with the counseling services to the youths, drug testing for the youths, so that by the end of the day, the youths feel comfortable sharing with the Kimo members why they are using the drugs. Then we are able to address the root causes. If it's about livelihood, we are able to empower them. With like-minded people out there in the world, we are going to be able to help the community, the youth, so that at least they get the jobs that they need. They can even start their own businesses, so that by the end of the day, they are out of the drug use. Another contribution that Kimo is making, it is about peace building and cultural setting for conflict management. And every 5 years, Kenya is going through an election. The period of electioneering has already started the year 2021. And come year 2022, we are going to have other people going into the parliament, including a new president. Kenya being a multicultural country with about 42 ethnic groups living together, we have witnessed a lot of conflicts, especially during the times of elections. Kimo has built structures in place so that they can be able to empower the community on leading a peaceful life for a peaceful world. Without peace, we cannot grow in this country. Therefore, this is an activity that Kimo has engaged in. So, given support by the world, we can be able to help the community to work through building peace and coexisting together. Okay. Kimo has come up with a document, Tukae Tusemeshane, in Kiswahili meaning, let us sit and reason together. So we have been sitting and reasoning together as members.
Okay, great. Okay, so I will get back to you in a few minutes. Nelly, I want to ask Dr. Bianco a question. So, Dr. Bianco, I know you're heavily engaged with activities going on in Kenya and working closely with the Kimo Wellness Foundation in terms of a fund drive, in terms of giving your expertise, whether it's through psychological assessments and so forth. Could you tell us a little bit about your engagement right now as it stands?
Yes, thank you, Errol, for having us in the show. And just would like to start by giving a little bit background about me. I have uh, uh, a degree in clinical psychology, specialized in behavioral medicine and health psychology. I obtained this degree over more than 10 years ago with William James College, where I also taught for many years health psychology and behavioral medicine. Uh, so several months ago, a little bit before the pandemic, that's when Nelly and I connected. Was an interesting connection through LinkedIn, and she found our specialty here in Boston, and
Yeah.
she connected with us to put together a program to train the professionals in Kenya in the Tika area in behavioral medicine and health
Yes.
psychology. So that's how we connected.
Beautiful.
Early last year, before the pandemic, I had the opportunity and the privilege to pay a visit to Tika and visit Kimo and meet Nelly and several of the professionals that work with her. And the initial idea was to make an assessment of their needs and then come back later in the year, which would have been last summer, to actually provide the training in health psychology and behavioral medicine. But then the pandemic came and that put everything on hold in terms of training them. But while in Kenya, I was able to visit the Mutero area, where Nelly, Kimo, and her group are putting together this project to build a clinic, like a hospital in that area that has no ability, the population has no ability to reach hospitals or medical care. They have to travel like 2 hours to get to the closest clinic. So the idea is to build a clinic, like a mini hospital in the Mutero area, and then provide services to that population that is so in need. We can go in more details what the services can be.
So, Dr. Bianca, how urgent is it at this point? I know you're working for our organization in terms of a fundraising drive to make these possibilities happen. How urgent at this point it is to have the hospital bill, furnish the younger generation education, good clothing, shelter, food, water. How urgent are all of these humanitarian needs right now as we speak?
Yeah, it's really urgent. That's an area that lacks a lot of service, and they have many issues. That as we know, I'm originally from Brazil, so I'm very familiar with the impact of poverty has in the community in general. So that area is in many ways in that situation.
Yes.
And lack of access to medical and psychological services. That's a region that has historically, Nelly just mentioned about that, every election they have violence against the different tribes or population, the different groups, other natural disasters that are very common in that area that occur. And then, other problems that are stem from the situation that they encounter, like depression and anxiety, that are not addressed at all. Even the trauma issues that they experience are not addressed ideally, Kimo does an excellent job trying to fulfill that gap. Nelly can attest to that. And so that's the idea, to build this clinic for that community based on their needs, based on their own problems, and then serve that population as soon as possible. And that's why we are putting together this fundraising. So that we can, bring them the money that is necessary to build the hospital.
Right. Nelly, so undoubtedly I have expressed the urgency of having these funds to get a hospital established. At this juncture, at this point in your life, how pressing is it? You're living this every single day. How pressing is it and urgent is it that this should be on the way ever since? That this project should be done ever since?
Thank you. The health challenge in Modelo community and actually an environment, including allowed Moranga County, which Moranga County has a population of about 1.6 million, and a number of hundreds of thousands of members are living within the environment of Modelo and the surrounding, including Kadara sub-county. And the only major hospital that is there, which is 2 hours away, the main hospital, that is the Moranga Hospital, it is 2 hours away from there. You can imagine the large population that needs to be fed in terms of trauma, and especially realizing around this time, the COVID-19 era, whereby there is a lot of close down on the members and the curfew hours. So by the end of the day, the community needs this dire service of health. Again, this is an area where we have a lot of elderly persons living in the community who are terminally ill, suffering from nutrition problems. They are also suffering from other lifestyle and wellness problems, including diabetic cases, cancer cases, which need to be screened earlier enough. Others, like because of the radicide that is happening, people suffer from physical disability. That is the man-made and the natural-made disabilities. And by the end of the day, ferrying them to a hospital very far from there, it is really taking a lot of time. So this is a dire need. Again, we have small children who have been left with their grandparents, and the grandparents do not know the how of taking care of the nutrition of these children. So if we take these services near the children, near the families, their grandparents can be well informed by the clinical officers who will be there, the health officers who will be there, the counseling psychologists who will be there, even the community health frontiers will be able to give them the services. Then Modelo Hospital will also become a referral center of the environment within the Kadara sub-county of Moranga. This has come at a timely time when COVID pandemic and other pandemics have affected the whole world. Modelo has not been left aside from the other global centers that are suffering from the same. So we are requesting our well-wishers that they can support. And let me tell you one thing. The members in this community have already started and they have already rolled out the project. And these are people living in an income of between $2 to $3 per day. And in the $2 to $3 per day, they are able to contribute towards the construction of this project. So you can imagine they will contribute $0.5 in a month towards the realization of the same. So the project has already started with the community members contributing, and therefore we are looking for the well-wishers in the world who can be able to support us to continue with this project. Again, we have also realized that in this community, a lot of youths are even committing suicide using prescribed drugs. Others, they're using poisoned drugs. So by the end of the day, we do not have a referral center, and most of them succumb on the way as we move to look for the health services. Therefore, this will also act as a center that will have the rapid response team in the hospital who will be attending to the community. We hope also to open counseling services because of the trauma that is facing this community here. We can only be able to do this with like-minded people, and this is an urgent need. It is a dire need. So given a time frame of the next 1 year, if we are able to realize this project, I believe we are going to save so many lives.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So one more thing, Nelly. I noticed that there's certain parts of Kenya that are economically prospering, and then there are certain communities that are being neglected. Do you see this as a fundamental issue that stems from government that are not equally looking after everyone with the same attention?
I don't think that is the case because Kenya is a third world country and the needs of this country are very many. If they wanted to spread to every community, it might be next to impossible because they can only maybe afford to have one hospital in a county.
Okay.
But should we have people out there in the larger world who can be able to support at grassroots level, I think this can be realized. Otherwise, our government is really trying.
Okay. How many people are presently in your county?
My county, Muranga, has a population of 1.6 million after the census of 2019. So I believe by now, maybe the population has moved to 2 million.
Yes.
The census 2019 was 1.6 million people. And the people living around Moderu and Kandara, there are thousands and thousands of people who are most at risk and they need this dire service.
Okay. So your plea is that you want as much global support as possible to give the kind of relief that your community is looking for. Besides the hospital, do you have any plans on like building schools or anything like that?
Yes, we have our area that our community that really need the schools, good schools for our children because in Modelo area there is no good school. There is no school like a national school around Modelo. This Modelo community may be needing a better school or improvement of the secondary school which is just around there, improvement of the primary school that is around there. And I want to mention something like the young children who are going to the primary schools, they hardly have their lunch or even their breakfast. Children in this community, some of them live for one meal per day. They will have their dinner, but they will not afford to have their breakfast. At one point, we were able to provide in one of the local schools with like-minded people, we were providing thick porridge and children were motivated to go to school. Otherwise, a lot of child labor happens because some children will not attend school every other day. Sometimes they will assist their grandparents for those whose parents are deceased, or others, for those whose mothers are very vulnerable, they will have to attend school maybe 3 or 4 days a week, and they miss one day to go and work in the tea plantation farms and the coffee plantation farms with their parents to get food at table. So 100% of their time is not spent in school.
Okay. I think that is quite burdensome, having young people face with substituting school to go and have a job in order to facilitate their hunger. What about having access to clean water, clothing, and even shelter in this case?
Around this time when there's the problem of COVID, we need clean water and actually even for our health purposes. most of the communities, most of the families in this area, they do not have access to clean water because the piped water from the dams has not yet arrived in their homes. And how can they also afford to pay for that water? How can they be able to drill borehole? So given the support, if we are able to provide for clean water services for these people, I believe the families can enjoy a better health and well-being.
Okay. Dr. Bianco, give your final assessment and the appeal and urgency of addressing this matter based on what you have witnessed firsthand. You was on the ground, you know what's going on. Give your final assessment of everything.
Yeah, I mentioned that I had the privilege to visit several areas there. Kenya is a beautiful place, but like Nelly said, they really lack the resources. Even when the government intervenes, we were able to meet with a couple of people there from the government, also mentioning the lack of resources. So that's why I think here in the United States and other parts of the world, we can gather together and make feasible gathering resources, not only financial resources, that is very important, and that's our first step to put together this fundraising, get to the financial piece of it, and then supply the resources that they need in terms of training. They are very sophisticated there also in terms of their training, but like Nelly mentioned to me several times, they are really interested in learning about the best practices that we implement here in the US and other parts of the world, and work together considering cultural issues, cultural differences, that is only natural, and